Quite a fascinating street. Old Central Road. It cuts between Central and Clemson. You may not know that, you may know that. Sometimes you just have to come to a complete stop, you know? All the driving around, constant motion, perpetual mobility, to and fro, here and there. We're all guilty as charged. We're all implicated. And it's complicated. It's the stuff of our lives, but at least I just had to come to a complete stop. And I don't mean a rolling stop, as I'm prone to do, but a complete stop. A stop that, like this chair, just is at rest. You can hear a lot more when you stop. You can see a lot more, I think, when you stop. Considering this question of the margins for our documentary, there are two elements of huge importance. I wanted to talk about those with you. The first is this concept of shortcuts. The second is the reality of barriers. The concept of shortcuts is really more like a temptation, to be real honest. A temptation to take shortcuts. Because this conversation about the margins is, it's complex. It has no real apparent shortcuts. This road, of course, is a shortcut. And it's interesting what you find back here along the sides of Route 93. The pockets of communities and neighborhoods, the kinds of people. It's totally different than the other side of 93 where I live, for sure. And there are no shortcuts to this conversation about margins. I've got a friend who is Mr. Point A to Point B. This is partly just male and masculinity, of course, but he's always arguing about the quickest way from a point to another point. We would go round and round about these things. He was just Mr. Efficiency. And it's okay, I guess, when you're driving around, and I usually deferred to him. He did seem to have the quickest way at times, but there is no quick way with this thing called margins. I don't think, anyway. The second element is real touchy, real sensitive. I'm squirming a little bit to talk about it with you, and it's this subject of barriers. Race barriers, socioeconomic barriers, barriers of the poor and the rich, barriers that we see and that we don't see, barriers that we hear we don't hear. I taught my daughter recently how to spin a football on our kitchen floor, real violently spin it, and I was trying to teach her anyway, and she was trying to do it right away, and she's 1.5. She doesn't have what it takes, if you will. I mean, there's no way her little wrists can pull that off. She doesn't have the dexterity in her hands, and I didn't exactly feel like telling her all of those things, so I just let her give it a try. And I mean, she didn't even see the barriers, you know? She just didn't even see them, wasn't conscious of them. Now, I'm not proposing, although I do like that childlike innocence, I'm not proposing that we are naive or simplistic about these barriers. I'm not proposing that we don't see them. I'm proposing that we see through them. We see through them. And all I'm saying is, I feel like you have to stop in order to see things better and hear things better.